What's up? This is your boy Styles here, WestCoastStyles.com. You know what I'm saying? We're the West Coast, baby. And man, we got a special guest in the house today, Jansport J, producer, right here on the West Coast, doing his thing. Everybody's talking about him right now because of the Knowledge song, and we're going to get into that. But before we do all that, we're going to go travel back a little bit. Uh, you know, um, Man, when did we meet? 2009, 2010?
I think I did my first ever interview with you on Rap Talk,
Yes.
raptalk.net. Yeah, so that's I feel like it was a we I did the Carry On Experience, which was like my first album, which was like a compilation. So that had to be 2008, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, so way back then.
2008. You
Yeah,
know?
I think I was posting on MySpace the link to the interview and everything. So that's
Yeah,
how.
I think it was a producer out in Long Beach
Mhm.
who linked me with you. He was like, man, you got to link up with this cat, Jansport J. And then I looked you up, listened to some of the things that you had going. And I was like, all right, man, let's do this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Even though you didn't have, no hits, whatever.
no, I
But
was just
it was
getting started.
it
I
was
was
just dope, though. You know what I'm saying? It was
appreciate
dope, and I wanted to give an opportunity and a chance, just on the strength of you being dope, no buzz,
it. Right.
no nothing, whatever. You know what I'm saying? You
Right,
know,
right.
and
Yeah, and that helps. You know what I'm saying? Having moments like that early on where you feel like my whole career is kind of based off of momentum, just things kind of falling in place that inspire you to get to the next step. So I know early on when I just decided, like, all right, I don't even know how to do a compilation now, but I'm going to try it. And I
yeah,
did it, and it's okay. Now I got to do like an interview or get on these blog sites. So I was in that mode where I was finding emails for all the submissions and I was just hitting everybody, hoping, something would stick. So that was very important back then. So I'm grateful to this day for that.
yeah, man. And one thing that I've been really proud about is that over the years since then, your name has always come up somehow. You know what I'm saying? You didn't just do the interview and then just disappear into oblivion. You went
Right.
to work.
Yeah.
You went to work. You didn't change up your style. You didn't compromise your vision or your music or whatever. You stuck to your guns.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I'm saying? And that's man. A lot of people don't stick to their guns. You know what I'm saying? They just like follow like let the wind blow them wherever it may. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
But you believed in your vision and your sound, and even though if to me it felt like the long way, the long road.
Yeah, for sure. But when you're younger, you want everything to happen right away. But I'm so grateful for the way things have panned out. Like you said, I've been blessed to be consistent somewhat within the underground or the West Coast scene, and even just starting to branch out from there. But it was just important for me to always feel like progress was happening. As long as I'm putting one foot in front of the other, things will work itself out. And the biggest thing for me is that, um, as you know, like since 2008, hip hop went a lot of different directions, and to me, and I've always respected it and I loved it because I love a balance, but I know what I'm good at. And for me, I wanted to get whatever was mine on my terms and whatever I felt like God had placed me here to do. So I felt like soul music was important for me, to keep that alive, to keep it revived within hip hop. And those are the terms that I wanted it on. I said, like if I'm gonna get to a certain point, it's gonna be because I'm Jansport J and I didn't switch up.
Yeah,
So
yeah, definitely. But before some of the things that have been happening recently, you had some big moments. I remember you did some things with Snoop Dogg. You know what I'm saying? Like why don't you tell me about that?
yeah, so Snoop, that situation came about. I was still at my 9 to 5. This is maybe I think the first record happened like 2014, 2015. My homegirl Jasmine, she worked for Snoop. So she knew that I was just working, just trying to figure stuff out, get beats here and there. So she asked me to send a batch of beats over for Snoop, and I didn't think I had anything that would fit him. But my approach is always to show up for opportunity, do what you're supposed to do, and let whatever happen from it. So I sent some beats through, and then back then he was on his mixtape grind. So it wasn't so much that you're doing paperwork and you gotta clear
Yeah.
the record and all. Like if it's on the mixtape, it's on the mixtape. So I saw that he was putting out I think it was volume 2 of That's My Work with Drama, and I was at my job and I was like, you know what, let me just go like press play on this to see if like I got anything on here. And it was the very intro, and then I was like, oh my god, this is crazy. I'm sitting there at my job having like my real world aspirations starting to come to fruition. And
Wow.
from there we did like I think I had 2 more on his mixtape series. One with the East Side, is one with Corrupt on it, on the Cousins album. And then I worked with this artist Jabba Loke on the record. So it's always been just respect from Snoop, and he's amazing. Like we haven't had too many dealings, but I remember when I did my Black White Goldville album, I wanted to get a little like interlude of him just saying, "Send me some beats." So I hit up my homegirl Jasmine, thinking it's gonna take like a couple months. Snoop sent that the next day. And, it's things like that. Or even we were trying to clear a sample on Jabba Loke's album, he held it off and made sure everything got cleared, or I had to take off one of the samples. He's always just kind of looked out. So Snoop is good with me forever. Like he's amazing.
That's dope. So you're at your job. You have absolutely no idea that he picked out your beat.
I had a feeling, but you just didn't know.
Yeah, he didn't notify you. In other words, he didn't like, hey,
exactly.
Hey, you know what? We're gonna use this. Blah blah blah.
Right. So
you went off intuition.
Yeah. I took my little 15-minute break. I went to the computer to go listen, and it was the intro. So I knew I have to skip too many records to see. So it was a great feeling for sure.
Tell me, like, just amplify how you really felt.
Well, it was the beginning of this music thing. Like it's how I say it. Like it's about I'm obsessed with legacy. I want to do things that are going to be here for a long time past me. That things that help people get through whatever. Like I want my music to be important on that level. And Snoop, with no disrespect to anybody that I worked with before, everybody's music is timeless and everything like that. But Snoop was like the first level of like, oh, this is like this is top shelf, so it's always going to be here. If it gets taken off of YouTube or whatever, somebody else is going to upload it at some point because this is Snoop Dogg. Like it's different. And so it was my first feeling of that, where it's like, okay, everything that I'm doing, my beat tapes and stuff, it feels good, it feels timeless. This was like the first real stamp of wow, like I did some shit that's forever. And just the idea of this man has worked with Dr. Dre, with Daz, with the greatest producers ever. So you got to think he's coming. If something inspires him, it's got to be dope on some kind of level. So for him to not know who I was and to hear this beat amongst a bunch of others and say, "Oh, load that up, I'm right to it. We rocking." Like it was validation at a certain level as well.
Yeah. Did you go home and like start playing it for your family and all your?
No, I'm weird. I whenever good things like that happen, I get right back to work. Because I'm like, man, it was the work that got me that moment. So go do it again. So anytime I've had like a big record or a check coming or anything, I get right back to the machine because I'm like, this is what's responsible for it. So I remember just getting home and playing it again. And I might have told my mom or something like that, but I just started making more beats that night. Just on man, I got to keep it going.
I feel that.
Yeah.
So have you been in the studio with him? Or
no, not in official capacity. The 1 or 2 times I met him, I think I met him at Jabba Loke's release party. And it's funny because it was a bunch of people in the back. So I'm already thinking like everybody's going to want to chop it up with Snoop. I'm not really that type of person. If you're busy, I'll chop it up with you later. And they called us into the movie theater to watch the film that came with it. And so we were like lagging behind. So we go down this like little secret hallway or something like that to get to the theater. And we see these 2 big bodyguards coming down. I'm like, oh, Snoop must be in between them. So I'm like, oh, that's dope. I'm going to just walk past it. And Snoop, like, as we're walking past, he steps in between the bodyguards. He said, what's up, nephew? How you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And I just thought that was dope because somebody like Snoop, you like the most famous person in any room that you step in, but to still have the humility to, introduce yourself. You found out I did the record. That's like the one real experience I've had with him since then.
Nice. So I imagine that record, and even the ones that followed afterwards, like you said with the East Siders and with Corrupt and all that, I imagine that propelled your confidence.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I've always had a confidence in what I've been doing, but it felt like even more. I think validation is kind of the word where it's like I didn't need the validation, but at the same time, like when one of the greatest hops on your joint, it's like okay, like I'm where I'm supposed to be. I just got to keep,
Mm-hmm.
keep putting in the work. But Snoop just doesn't hop on any and everything. You know what I'm saying? And for it to
Correct.
happen several different times, it's like okay, like I think at that time I started feeling like people within, I guess, the underground scene knew who I was, and some of the top tier artists, they may not have known my music, but my music was hitting them right away, and that's what I took pride in. It's like whether you knew the name or not, anything that came with it, you heard the record and it felt different to you. It felt soulful, it felt whatever, and so that's what I was really proud and I guess I got confidence in that sense where it's like whether you know that I've been putting it down and doing this, that, and the third, or I'm brand new to you, the music speaks. So that's what I
Mm-hmm.
really had the confidence in.
Mm-hmm. We got shit falling.
Yeah,
Is
that's
there earthquake?
my paid dues. Damn, did Snoop hear him? He's talking about. He didn't do this one, but yeah, shoot, that's crazy. Um, that's nuts. These have been up here the entire pandemic, and it just fell out. I hope that's not some kind of omen. But
What
yeah,
film? That was paid. You mentioned paid dues.
yeah. So I did the
I
last.
saw you on stage, as a matter of fact. I
Yeah,
took
I
a picture.
DJ. That's me at the bottom, right over here. That was actually my first DJ gig. Low key, Mers called me up, and I had always wanted to DJ. I just hadn't hopped on the tables and learned yet. And he hit me up while I was at my old job. A lot of things happened when I was at my job,
Yeah.
but he called me. He said, hey, I got a little gig that I'm putting together called Pay Dues if you're down to DJ a stage. And so I said yes. I took 2 months. I got like real, just like boot camp DJing lessons from the homies, and I was ready. But it helped because I always tell people if you're a producer, that producer DJ transition isn't that hard because a lot of the stuff is
Yeah.
intrinsic already.
Yeah. Yeah. You were with Curtis King. I remember you guys were on stage. I got a nice flick of you guys up on stage there. That's dope. What I was going to get into before that picture fell.
Yeah.
It's always important to take a moment like you had with Snoop Dogg and parlay that into something else. Take another step forward. So, what was your next step forward after that?
Shoot. Knowing me at that time, I probably just put out like another instrumental album. That's kind of always my thing. It's like when you have a moment like that you can't control, it's like what can I do right after to control it? So I'm sure that happened like 2014. I maybe started working on Soul Provider or something like that. I just wanted to capitalize on that moment of just having those records. So I did that. I think around that time, like I said, it was just doing more stuff with Snoop and like the affiliates over there. And I was heavy with Delicious Vinyl at that time too. So I think that helped me do some more things over there and started opening up the Japan like portal as far as like working with Extra Large, and DV was reaching out up there. So it's like you said, it's like taking that moment and using that little bit of steam, even though it was a mixtape, and like figuring out the next play, which is always music based, as long as it's feeding into the brand and everything that you're doing.
Yeah. What was your next big move after that?
The next big move, it's a blur. I think I signed with Delicious Vinyl to put out the Soul Provider. I feel like the Snoop record happened, and then I did that. We had been rocking for like a couple, maybe 2 years at that point. The OG LAJ had invited me up there to play some beats.
Farside. Yeah.
Yeah, they were trying to put Farside back together at that time. So I went up there and played beats, and they embraced me as family ever since then. And yeah, I think like right after that, I ended up working with Delicious Vinyl. I did the Soul Provider LP with them. We shot some videos, and that's when I think that's when people on a broader level outside of the coast really started picking up on what I was doing, And I was able to produce like an R&B album with the singer Maylot right after that. The Fader picked it up. So stuff like that started happening where some of the bigger blogs were kind of paying attention.
Yeah.
Just because, the recent stuff that had happened. And I have a weird blessing. Snoop said I'm cuz with the funny name, but I have a name that you can remember. And so I think people have been hearing it since at that time, 08, 09. And then you get up to 2014, 2015, I'm still around. So
yeah,
there was like some respect that started coming with it.
That's so. I've been to the Delicious Vinyl offices. Man, it's very historic. You go there and you see gold plaques of Tone Loc and Young MC and all the other artists that were cracking on them with them back in the 80s and early 90s.
Yeah,
it's a cool feeling to be up in that spot, man.
Yeah, and they responsible for early Dilla, getting Dilla's first placements and stuff like that. I get a lot of stories and lessons from everybody over there. I'm still tight with Mike Ross and Rick Ross and Fat Lip and Slim Kid Trey and all of them. So whenever I need some game or I just want, if I got a random question about a session or stuff like that, I can always learn from them. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They're right there, and they were in the heyday. You know what I'm saying? They were around all of that. So it's good. Yeah. I'm a student. I like hearing the stories and understanding what they were doing back then and figuring out how to make it work today without being a relic, but keeping the spirit of those things within the music. Was
Jay Swift over there with you too, or what?
Jay Swift was in it. I think at that time, Jay Swift was living in Spain. So I met Swift a couple times when they did shows and stuff like that, but I didn't get too close with him. It was mainly Fat Lip I was close with and the owners, and Trey lives up in Portland, but whenever I was up there for a show or something like that, we would connect and chop it up.
Yeah. That's like I said, going to Delicious Vinyl is, you kind of get goosebumps there.
West Coast,
you go to the parking lot and you see that big logo mural that they have there with the eating the vinyl and and all that. And,
and it's crazy because I had actually in college, I went to school for advertising and marketing, so we had in my marketing class, we had to do some kind of internship or something like that. So I had reached out to Delicious Vinyl to do a little internship. And I think my car broke down that day. So I was supposed to meet up with Mike Ross. And so what's funny is my homeboy had to connect. So I settled for an internship at Interscope, but I really wanted to be at Delicious Vinyl. And, years later, I ended up working with them and stuff like that. And they're like family.
Yeah.
It's just funny how things come full circle.
So you also have you done anything over at the pizza shop they have? I know they have shows.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well, we do a monthly over there. We do my homegirls Jasmine and Ashley, they have an event called Soul Therapy, and I'm a resident DJ for that. So we do that every month. It's all soul and funk music. We've had Dame Funk, we've had Fred Wreck, Battle Cat, Pooh. One of my greatest moments of my career was just like a spur of the moment jam session with Battle Cat and myself, like DJing and Pooh.
Wow.
And I was just like, this is crazy. And Battle Cat was like, we need to
start. Was that filmed?
Yeah. I actually got it on my I think it's still on my Instagram, where I got like a video of it. For sure. But yeah, it was a special moment. So yeah, we do events over there all the time. So we actually
my man Chris the Glove Taylor is over there on Friday.
He was at the last one. And what's crazy is I had 2 shows that day, so I did my set and I had to hop off and come back to the Cove. But before I hopped off, Glove came up and he was like, "Oh, you killing it!" And I was just, man, this is because I'm a nerd. So when the OGs and I know a little bit of my history, Ice-T and just early, like what I'm saying, like this is the beginning of that. So somebody from the beginning of that era may not even know who I am, but comes up and says like, "Yo, you killing it." And I've been blessed to get that reaction from Battle Cat, from Pooh, like everybody. Like when they hear me, it feels like reminiscent to them. So that's like the biggest.
Not just the beginning. He was also on the Chronic.
Chronic
2001, and also did phone tap for Dre and Nas and all that. So that's a big prop.
Yeah, but I was just geeking out on like pure DJing. Because it's like that culture is like, if you're not right, DJs are kind of like, if you're not doing it right, they're not saying nothing to you. So they kind of go out of their way and say like you doing what you're doing. It's
especially those DJs.
that's what I'm saying. Like
They're hard. And they'll be hard on the motherfucker.
From that era, because I don't scratch. I blend very well though. Like I do my blends and my selection is on point because I'm a sample based producer. So a lot of the stuff that I pull from, like I know Chris came up to me because I had pulled out the Nene Cherry Buffalo Stance record, and he was like, how old are you? Who are you?" And I'm just like, I had an older sister. I'm just ahead, I just like these records. These like, especially like, I mean, 70s and early 80s, of course, but I also like that late 80s, mid 80s R&B and stuff like that. So I just got a lot of bags like that.
Nice. All right, well, we've covered a lot of the background stuff, and like we're at the 20-minute mark, man. So let's get into the meat. You and Hit Boy, how did this connection happen?
It started on Twitter, like when Twitter first started. I think we were chopping it up like in 2010, 2011, before he got the Kanye deal. It was just a mutual respect. I think around that time, Day One was throwing the producer showcases, stuff like that. So it was a real producer community starting to come up. So I think he got familiar with me through that. And I knew about him through the Surf Club stuff that they were doing, like MySpace era. So I was familiar. So we just always had a respect since then. And we always kept in touch over the years. I want to say 2014, he hit me up to help him out with a record that had like Ty Dolla $ign and Dom on it. So it was like the first $500,000 project. But like I said, it was just always a mutual respect. And I think he really respected that I was doing my own thing, that I'm down to contribute and help out here and there.
Yeah.
But I'm also like trying to build what I'm trying to build. So there was like no worry about motives and stuff like that. Cause we have like, he just, he went through the atmosphere really. He went from, working on records here and there at Interscope to signing with Kanye, doing Click, doing Niggas in Paris, and he just took off real quick.
That's no shit. That's no lie right there.
Yeah, so he was going crazy. But I think just when you whether you shoot up real fast like that, or don't get it twisted, like he's been putting in work for a long time, but he has a very quick rise. So when you shoot up like that, but you have peers that are still level-headed and grounded, that may not be where you at, but we remember you. I think that kind of gave him the comfort zone. And I want to say when he moved into the Chalice studio maybe 3 or 4 years ago, that's when we really started locking in and just building together and just working. So,
So this collaboration with Nas, how did you get on it? Like, did he hit you up, or did you submit the beat, or what was that like?
So the full story is they worked on the first album. The first album was actually supposed to be a Valentine's Day EP. And so I had popped up. He told me, he had texted me one night. I think he texted me a video of Nas, like, of his record playing in the background and Nas sitting there writing. And it was a record that we had both, like, it was a beat that we made together.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh shit, that's Nas, and he's rapping on our record. He's like, yeah, me and the bro, we've been locked in. He's like, you got to pull up. So I pulled up on him. I met Nas. Like I said, they were supposed to do an EP. The music was, amazing. They just kept it going. But the record that I had worked on, they had issues with the sample, so it didn't clear. So I didn't make the first one. But within that, meeting Nas and being a part of that whole process, it was very easy when it was time to do part 2 to just bring me back in and say, like, all right, like, he was adding to the vibe. He was, whatever on the first one. He's part of the team. So let's lock in. And so really what happened, I think we did a No Phony Love record first. Hit Boy had that sample that he got from Brian Alexander Morgan's Instagram, a record that he never put out. So he had like a version of the chops, and he sent it to me, and I added like some other chops in between. We worked on the drums together, and then we took it to Brian Alexander Morgan, which was like a whole thing for me because I'm a SWV geek, and he's the pen behind all of that. So Brian played some more stuff on top of it and got to produce Charlie Wilson's vocals and all that kind of stuff. So
Wow.
that's how the No Phony Love happened. And then Moments was halfway done, and he just needed help rounding it out, adding more sounds to it. So we went in on the drums and just built up like we usually do. We just have that relationship. He has that with a lot of his co-producers, where we just play our position. And it's like, all right, if we need to rework the drums, let's all figure it out. If we need to rework the sample, if we need to do a melody, like let's serve the record. So that's really how that came together.
Mm-hmm. That's dope that he's able to give you co-production credit, because there was a time in this business when the producers didn't do that.
Yeah, he's always been A1 with me, which is like, it makes it so easy to just hop in there and contribute and not think about the business end, because we in the studio, like I always say, it's about serving that record. I don't want to think about nothing else. That's for management and lawyers and everybody else to figure out. We're here. And on top of that, to me, Nas is a responsibility. If you're working on the Nas record, this is hip hop canon. So we got to make sure it sounds right. This ain't everybody else. So really get all that other shit out the window and just make sure it's all the way right.
Yeah.
So
now I imagine easier time with the sample this time around.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, the Moments one, that one got cleared, and the No Phony Love one, because it was a record that Brian Alexander Morgan never put out.
Okay.
We just cleared it with him. He's a co-producer on it anyway. So really that's like a cheat code where we just coming across records that wasn't put out, or the homies put it out, and it's like, all right, well, let's do it that way. So it's funny how God worked it out, because I think a lot of people might come away from that first situation bitter or feeling some kind of way, because that one won a Grammy and everything, but that wasn't the goal for me. It was about contributing and making sure the record was dope. And as long as I did everything I was supposed to do, that's it. So when it didn't work out, but I had the right mentality to get back in on the second one.
Yeah.
That's where I got to this time. So
yeah. That's gotta be a fear though, as a crate digger, like you are, that you're gonna find this dope ass sample and not get the clearance, or can't find the person who can clear it.
I'm a nerd, so I'm gonna always find it. I'm gonna help the label find it. Like I'll find the publishing and all that stuff. Whether it clears or not, it's not even a fear. It's just out of my hands. I know that's the game that I'm playing. You know, like I know this is my passion, and it's what comes with it. It's I actually look at it as a real blessing. What I like doing is taking specifically Black catalog from the 70s and 80s, where people might not have gotten what they were supposed to get, or the record didn't go that crazy.
Yeah.
And they're sampling it now, and it's a Drake record or a Big Sean record or whatever, and you're getting the royalties off it, or your children, your family is like, that's kind of like getting the just due for what you should have got back then.
Sure.
Brian Alexander Morgan, it was an idea that he had. I think he said 87, 88, the album never came out. He actually wrote the song with Charlie Wilson in mind. So that for him, it was like a record that was a failure for 30-something years. And then all of a sudden it's being used on a Nas record, and like you have new life. So it's like,
that's dope.
Those kind of things that I'm into, where it's like sampling, that's what I kind of look at. And I chop it up. Like if it doesn't get cleared, we can replay it. If it's not feeling right, then it just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
But you also know who to stay away from as well, like certain catalogs. So
that's dope. That I really miss sampling in hip hop. It's not done as much as it was like when De La Soul was rapping. And
it's a lot of lazy sampling. They're sampling records that came out like 6 or 7 years ago, which to each their own, but like just at least make it dope, And I think it's important. I know these labels love having the least amount of obstacles possible to put a record out, which like I get it, but at the same time, this is hip hop and you never taken out sampling. It was built off of the sample. So the element's always going to be important. And the records that people love, that they resonate with, is always the sample records. So like once everybody gets hip to that and just realize we just need to put the bread up, then like it'll work out.
Dope. Now, I imagine that the price has gone up.
A little bit, yeah.
All the favors.
Yeah, it's I'm
Out of
actually
here.
I'm glad you brought that up. It's a tricky thing, because I like to think of myself as a humble person, and it's hard to. I understand why things have to level up and why rates have to go up and stuff like that, but it was always hard for me to communicate that with people, especially if you've known them early on. They knew you from early humble beginnings, and now because you're doing some stuff, they just feel like, oh, well, you could just send me whatever. But the best way I try to explain it to people, if my rate is whatever it is right now, if I'm sending you something for free, it's not free. I'm paying you because that record could have got me this over here.
Yeah.
So now that I don't have that, I'm paying you, which it's not to say I haven't done stuff or it's on a bigger scale. It's like, okay, if we could work out the back end on a whole album, then it makes sense. But like the back end on one record is not doing anything. It has to be a real passion project. And I've just learned to really to be professional about what I'm doing. Doing it full time will make it a lot easier for me to to say the rate. Like as soon as I went full time, I was like, oh yeah, this is my rate because I got to pay my bills and I got to keep everything going. So it definitely.
But now you have a good reason why.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? You can't just be like, hey, you know what? There's not a reason. There's a reason why you need to pay this,
right?
Because of this over here.
And even if that's not enough for you, the 13 years is the reason why. The 13 years every single day putting in the work is the reason why it is what it is. So, yeah, and I definitely don't, I know people like to throw money. I definitely don't say that to gloat or anything like that, but it is something that you should strive for as far as growth and momentum and progress. So the rate going up is, just another factor of that. So,
yeah. And you can say, hey, I quit the job.
Yeah. No,
I quit the job and I'm doing
my life, and I have people to pay. I have a manager to pay. I have a lawyer to pay. I have a photographer. So it all makes sense to me now. Where I'm like, okay, that fee makes sense. When I was first getting into it, and they were like, oh, you got to charge $4,000 or $5,000. I'm like, man, that's for a beat. That's a lot. Once you start doing it, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, they're taking this off top, this, that, and the third. Yeah. So it does make sense.
So, man.
And whatever they're going to make off of it for the rights that they have. So,
well, congratulations on all the success, man. Keep building that momentum and that steam, brother, and just keep going to that next level, that next step. What is there anything that you're working on now that could be big, or that you're working on for anybody else, or?
Well, it's funny because when people ask that, I can never think because the work has been done. But there are projects coming out. I have one with theirs coming out that we're wrapping up. Project with Michael Christmas coming out. The homie Buddha Monk in Japan, an EP with Kojo. And we're right now we're locked in on this Big Sean project and just trying to make that as dope as possible with him.
Big Sean.
Yeah, that's what we've been working on lately. So that's like the next big, picture situation that we've been working on. So, yeah.
Man.
Blessing.
I can't wait to hear, brother. All right, well, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and let you get back to your business because I know you're a busy man and you're making beats all the time. But I just want to really thank you for being our guest here on westcoaststyles.com. Before you leave, can you give us a shout out for West Coast Styles, please?
Definitely, man. This is Jansport J. I'm shouting out West Coast Styles. Shout out to my man Styles. Like I said before, the first ever interview that I can remember was with Styles. So this is full circle to be able to do this right after the Nas records. Some of my biggest records come right back, and talk about that.
All right, brother. Thank you for your time,
yes,
man. And thank you everybody for watching this interview. You guys all be blessed. Peace.
Yes,